I don't think this will really shock many, but I think it's definitely a newer name now after he's put together a couple consistent seasons now. I think now it's time to put him squarely in the wide receiver one ranks, and that is Amon-Ra St. Brown at
Dude, we're
number
on fire
9.
today.
Yeah,
That's
dude, I
exactly
had
who I had at 9 too.
I got
Really?
him at 9 too.
Damn, that's awesome. All right, so since we all agree on it, I won't stay on it too much. Looks like Jared Goff's going to be the Lions quarterback next year. Amon-Ra St. Brown, granted, he doesn't really make the splash plays, so to speak, but he's a target hog. 12, 12, 9, 10, 11, 9. He's doubled. Oh my God, crazy. He's consistently putting up double digit targets. And he actually finished as the wide receiver 7 in PPR formats and the wide receiver 9 in standard formats. So I'm still hammering Amon-Ra St. Brown next year, especially with Jared Goff there. I'm not worried about Jameson Williams. He didn't show me enough to where I think he'll cut into Amon-Ra's volume that much. And we've seen from the Lions offense that it's very high powered and there's plenty of targets to go around. So I think Amon-Ra is just going to continue what he's been doing next year.
Yeah, definitely need to see some touchdown positive regression there for sure because he's been in that 5-6 range for the last 2 years. So I think that his third year, I mean, hey, the third year is when we really start to see wide receivers break out. So now is the time to buy on Amon St. Brown if you are in a dynasty league. And if you're in a redraft league and you feel like you're reaching for it, probably it would be in the second round. Just do it. Like if you're at the beginning of the second round and you obviously Amon-Ra is not making it back in the third. So if
No.
you feel like that's your guy, go ahead and get it because he will certainly help win leagues next year. I'm confident in it.
He's not a sexy name by any means. Like when you're drafting, you kind of look for the sexy name sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you see Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're like, ooh, I don't know. But he's just consistently better than so many people that you think he wouldn't be better than.
Yeah. 1,100 yards, dude. That's awesome.
I thought he missed more games this year too. He really only missed 2.
Give him a couple, get him up into that 8 to 10 touchdown range, and he's pushing top 3 potentially. So we'll see what happens with that. John, who do you got at number 10?
All right, I feel like this is the one that you guys don't have.
Okay.
Garrett Wilson.
I knew you were going to say it, but
really?
Yeah,
dude,
I'm
getting so high on Garrett Wilson because I am every day waking up thinking Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Jet now. I'm over the Lamar thing. So. I think it's Aaron Rodgers. Read today that like the asking price that the Packers are asking for Aaron Rodgers is 2 first-round picks. The Jets have that, and general manager, whatever his name is willing to pay the price.
John, you know his name. He was with the Eagles. Don't act like you don't know who he is.
I don't. The only general manager I've known from the Eagles is Howie Roseman.
He wasn't I don't think he was ever your manager, but he was like the player personnel guy under Roseman, I believe.
Really?
And he worked for the Ravens too.
Yeah, he did.
Who?
Joe Douglas.
I have no idea. I still don't know who that is.
He studied under Ozzie.
Okay, but yeah, Garrett.
This obviously top 10. It's like you got to stop going off of who was like the 10th best receiver last year. Like it's easy to do that for the who was the top 5 this year. All right, they're probably going to make it into the top 12 like this year, but once you start getting to the 10, 11, 12 range, you got to start thinking like who is just outside of the top 12. Garrett Wilson wasn't just outside of the top 12, but I do see him making a big jump next year, especially because I think they're going to have a Hall of Fame quarterback throwing the ball to him.
I really, really, really hope so. And if we do, this is why we do the way, way, way too early rankings, because we don't know what's going to happen. But say Aaron Rodgers does end up on the Jets, I could easily see Garrett Wilson pushing himself into the wide receiver 1 range. It's remarkable that he put up 80 receptions and 1,100 yards with the quarterback carousel.
Yeah, dude, just wait till he gets 100. I mean, he's going to be pushing 1,500 yards.
Garrett Wilson, I like it. A little spicy pick at number 10. Paul, who you got at number 11?
So I have to say this guy because we can't leave him out. But I was really hoping I could drop a little shock bomb. But John, Garrett Wilson, that is a little surprising. But hey, who knows? Aaron Rodgers, sky's the limit. But I'm gonna go Jalen Waddle here.
Yeah,
It's
I had him
it's
too.
kind of a no-brainer. I think we're all in unanimous decision here. What Waddle has done this year has been incredible. I think he's only going to improve. And if he sees an uptick in targets, then the sky is the limit for this guy. So top 12 wouldn't be complete without Jalen Waddle. Had to put him in there.
I like Jalen Waddle. I actually had him at number 10. And like you said, Paul, he's proven that he's a top 10 wide receiver in the league. So very reasonable to think that he'll finish as a wide receiver 1 next season. And he is entering that 3rd year. So maybe it is that magic year where he really takes that really big step into superstardom from the wide receiver position. And then I'm going to round it out at number 12. And we talked about this guy a little bit. I think I surprised you guys a little bit with taking him in the 3rd round, but I'm still keeping him there. And I think he's going to finish as a wide receiver 1 because, like I said, I think he's going to end up on a playoff team where he's going to be one of the focal points in the offense, and that's DeAndre Hopkins. Showed that coming back from suspension didn't slow him down, was very consistent before Kyler Murray got hurt. And we're talking he could end up in a place like New York with the Giants. I'm not sure what the Cowboys situation is, but I know they need a wide receiver. It would be amazing to see DeAndre Hopkins on the Cowboys
Ravens
and the Ravens. And he's going to go to a team that, like I said, is on the cusp of the playoffs or has already been to the playoffs. So a team that already has a quarterback there that we know can get him the ball. So I'm expecting a big year out of DeAndre Hopkins next year, assuming he stays healthy and doesn't get suspended again for PEDs.
Yeah,
I can totally see that, Bob. And God, I hope and pray. I go to bed every night and I pray to God that DeAndre Hopkins is wearing purple and black next year.
Is D Hop a top 12 wide receiver if he stays on the Cardinals though?
They've already said pretty much that they're going to trade him.
Okay, then we can be pretty confident on it then.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
So I'm expecting. I don't think I doubt he's going to be on the Cardinals next season. And even if he was, the Kyler Murray injury, I think that it's going to hurt him a little bit at the beginning of the year. So DeAndre Hopkins rounds out our top 12. John, do you want to give us a rundown of the top 12 now that we finished?
Certainly. So for our wide receiver 1, a unanimous Justin Jefferson. Everyone has that, except for probably Chris Sims on ESPN. Number 2, Tyreek Hill. 3, Jamar Chase. 4, Cooper Kupp. Those were like the 4 receivers we all agreed would be in the top 4. Then we had some disagreement where Stephon Diggs falls in, but we have him at our number 5. Devontae Adams at our number 6, hoping that maybe Tom Brady is throwing him the ball. A.J. Brown at number 7, which would pretty much be where he finished in 2022. CeeDee Lamb at number 8, Amon-Ra St. Brown at number 9, spicy take in Garrett Wilson being number 10, Jalen Waddle, a unanimous top 12 wide receiver coming in at the wide receiver 11, and then DeAndre Hopkins finding his way back to being a wide receiver 1 after a full season with no PEDs.
I like it. All right, guys. So we got our 12 wide receivers down. Let's go. Let's each give a dark horse candidate that we think may enter the wide receiver 1 rankings next season. John, we'll start with you again.
Yeah, so I think Chris Godwin is going to break into the top 12 next year.
Are you expecting him to still be on the Bucs or?
I don't know. What does his contract look like? Is he a free agent?
I think he might be.
Because I was thinking if Tom Brady leaves, Mike Evans will leave. So to answer your question, yes. I'm under the impression that Godwin will remain a Buccaneer. But I mean, dude, you look at his target share, he's comparable to some of the names we named, like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs. His target share, dude, first of all, he played 15 games this year, and there were only 4 games in the fantasy season that he wasn't in the green for targets. So the first week he had 3, and then he got hurt. So he didn't play the next 2 weeks. Then he comes right back from injury. 10 targets, 6, 12, 13, 11, 10, 8, 13, 13, 9, 8, 10, 9 in the championship. So he's showing consistency in playoff season, scoring 15 points in all rounds of the fantasy playoffs. And he played 15 games and had over 1,000 yards and over 100 receptions. So, yeah, I certainly see Chris Godwin breaking the top 12. He's a young wide receiver, and he's a pretty good yards per catch or yards after the catch guy, too, from what I remember. I mean, he does a lot of like screen plays and slants and stuff like that and can make magic happen. The only thing is he didn't really find the end zone this year. So I think you could get Godwin at a discount this year if you're in like a dynasty league or if you're trying to make a trade like early in a redraft season or something like that. Because he had 3 touchdowns this year, I expect him to get closer to that 7 and 8 number that he was hitting more towards the middle of his career, we'll say.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I like Chris Godwin. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Bucs this offseason. Paul, who you got as your dark horse?
Crazy offseason for them.
Yeah, so before I go with my dark horse, I'm just curious, who did we leave out of the top 12 for you guys? Like, who was left out of the top 12 for you guys that you had already initially written down?
Chris Godwin, and that's it. He wasn't even my dark horse. I had someone else.
Keenan Allen.
Okay. I had Christian Kirk and Terry McLaurin.
Really?
Christian Kirk's a good one. I don't know about Terry.
I've talked about Scary Terry before. I like him a lot. But my dark horse, I went with a really, really big dark horse because there is a huge question mark on who's going to be throwing him the ball next year. But I can almost guarantee you it's not going to be Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston. And that's Chris Olave.
Really?
Wow. Okay.
Just off of this is strictly off of the eye test alone. The guy finished as the wide receiver 25. So I have no fantasy statistics to back me up here. But I watched the Saints played the Ravens this year and we whooped their ass. But Chris Olave was he ran some extremely crisp routes. He's a great deep ball threat. I think that the sky's the limit for him. I think the only thing holding him back is a good head coach and a decent quarterback. So I don't know what's going to happen in New Orleans, but just off of talent-wise alone, I think if Chris Olave gets a somewhat capable quarterback and a head coach that can say, "Listen, Kamara, we love you to death, but you're not Super Kamario anymore, man. You're just Alvin Kamara." And if they fix some pieces in that offense, I could totally see Chris Olave breaking in the top 12.
Who do you think's the better receiver in terms of talent, Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave?
Garrett Wilson is
Garrett Wilson.
Okay. Because I mean, they're both like talked about on a similar level. People are trying to say Chris Olave should be like offensive rookie of the year. Chris Olave is at least in the running. But Garrett Wilson takes the edge for me.
I like Chris Olave a lot. I think the biggest question is obviously the Saints quarterback situation, but we'll see how that pans out this offseason. And for my dark horse, it's not crazy to think. Paul's definitely is a little more out there, but I got Amari Cooper as my dark horse.
Interesting.
I like it.
Deshaun Watson.
I do like it.
That's
even though I hate Deshaun Watson, I do like it.
Paul is a noted Deshaun Watson hater, rightfully so. But I think Deshaun Watson's going to come back full off season, practicing with the Browns, getting familiar with everyone. I know he had more chemistry when he was playing with DPJ and even like Njoku over Amari Cooper. But give him a full off season. Amari Cooper's still the clear wide receiver 1 in Cleveland. I expect Deshaun Watson to be better. And don't be surprised if Amari Cooper sneaks into the wide receiver 1 ranks.
Yeah, I agree with that, Bob. And what I think the reason for him having more chemistry with DPJ and Njoku is, like, what do we always say? Rookie quarterback or like a backup quarterback's best friend is
the tight end.
the tight end, and then it's also probably going to be that second wide receiver because the quarterback doesn't have the chemistry with the wide receiver one to throw those 50-50 balls and to trust that the wide receiver is going to get to the open space. So I think he was just finding DPJ against the second defensive back and was like, I'm just going to throw to this guy because he's open. But next year, we're going to see riskier throws from Deshaun Watson to Amari Cooper's way. And that is the reason I agree with you that he could certainly crack the top 12.
Yeah. All right. We got our dark horses in. Now we are going to, I'm not really sure what to call this. I guess we'll call it potential top 12 busts. So who do we think is the most likely out of our top 12 to fall out of the top 12 by next season?
Okay. So I was thinking more of a hot take here because I think the obvious answer would be Garrett Wilson. And then maybe Amon-Ra because Jameson Williams is eating targets. But I actually had Stephon Diggs falling out of the top 12.
I like that actually.
And I hinted on it earlier. I think that they're gonna find like a very good wide receiver to throw to. Diggs may still be the wide receiver one, but I think that hey, being wide receiver 13 is not bad. Even if I draft him at the end of the first round or something and I had the 13th best wide receiver, I'm not like mad. But I see Stephon Diggs falling out of the top 12 for that reason. And I think there's just going to be a big switch in the offensive scheme here. I think they're going to try and establish a running back room. And I think they're going to add that second wide receiver piece. And then Dawson Knox is also growing in the offense too. So I expect him to get an uptick in volume. So I think it's not like Stephon Diggs is out of his prime, and that's why I think he's out of the top 12. I think that he's just going to have to give up some of his shares. And that's going to piss him off. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
That will get him to another team.
That is spicy, but I do like it. And I'm going to give my same rationale for my pick. I'm not going to actually pick a player, but two players that are on the same team. I'd lead more towards Waddle than Tyreek Hill in this scenario, but I think the Dolphins are going to pivot a little bit come next season. I think they're going to try to establish more of a running game because they really, yes, they had Raheem Mostert, but they were definitely way more pass heavy and just leaned on Tua's arm, Jaylen Waddle and Tyreek Hill's speed. So if I had to pick one of these guys, I think one of these Miami receivers is more than as compared to the other guys to fall out of the top 12 because I just think there's going to be a little bit of a shift in their offensive philosophy, hopefully to protect Tua maybe a little bit more, protect Tom Brady maybe a little bit more, and just establish a running game.
I can see Waddle falling out.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I can see Tyreek Hill falling to the 8th, wide receiver 8. So it's definitely not egregious. John, I think what you said is absolutely the craziest thing you've ever said on this podcast. But that's fine. I mean, the factors you mentioned, yes, if that all does happen, then Diggs could very well fall out of the top 12. But
yeah,
I'm going to meet you guys both in the middle here with it is crazy, yes, but it's not as crazy. And I'm going to go Davante Adams, and it breaks my heart to say this.
Wow.
But I just think I can totally see the Raiders not fixing their quarterback situation and then Davante Adams, and they're going to do like the thing that Seattle did this year, and it just like miraculously worked out that Geno Smith had a great year. But I can see them going into like training camp battle with Jared Stidham and whoever
they have. Yeah,
whoever it is, and then it's just subpar play, and it's another 5-win season in Vegas, and Davante Adams gets 14 targets, but only 8 of them were catchable, and so I don't think it's going to happen, and it has nothing to do with Davante Adams' talent. I just if everything stays the same in Vegas right now, you just can't convince me that Jared Stidham, if he's their starting quarterback, that Jared Stidham is going to help Davante Adams be a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, you actually convinced me a little bit. I don't think it's going to happen either, but I really liked the Raiders are a mess. So it really wouldn't be that surprising.
I'm more convinced that Brady will be a Raider than that quarterback battle.
I think Brady's going to be a Raider too, but I could totally see the Raiders just shitting the bed and messing up.
Yeah, they're one of those stupid organizations for sure.
Yeah. All right, guys, that was good. That was good. I like it. I liked all our explanations and everything. Anything else you guys want to add? Maybe another spicy guy real quick?
Brandon Ayuk, top 12 wide receiver.
No. Okay, we're ending it here. We're done. All right.
He's going to be a wide receiver 1 somewhere.
All right. Thank you as always for listening. This is the Eye Test, episode 31 of our way too early wide receiver rankings. As always, we are on all your lovely social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to us there. And we are the Eye Test, a fantasy football podcast on Apple and Spotify. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
See ya. Bye, Allie.
Bye, Allie.
Bye.